Hi, I'm Isaac Raz from PPR Studios, and today I'm going to be talking about music and how it inspired us for our thriller film. So I've basically picked about 3 songs, I think, which I particularly felt inspired by, and all for kind of slightly similar, but there are a few differences in between them. Um, so the 3 songs that I did get inspiration from was one of them was the intro to Hometown Glory by Adele. The other one was Intro by the XX, so the song called Intro, and uh, another one was the opening theme tune to Les Revenants, which I've actually talked about in past videos, but this one's specifically about music, so I thought I'd mention that as well. So let's start with the intro to Hometown Glory. So I'm just going to play a quick part of that. So as you can hear, it was just a piano, just until Adele starts singing. But there are a couple of things that I like about it. Firstly, the fact that it is piano. So piano isn't just a nice instrument, but there are a couple of things about it which is really good for films. The first thing is that it's got a pedal, which they actually used, and that's something that I really like about it because it's got a nice fade around each note. It's quite easy for the action to blend in with the music, so it's not too obvious and not too overbearing, which is something that I want from my thriller film as well. Another thing about the piano, which is really good, is that it's really familiar, and it's quite a soft, bold sound, but also not too strong. It's just quite whole, and the good thing about that is that people will sympathise with it more and hopefully sympathise with the characters more, which is obviously really important for this young girl because she's a victim. Something specifically about Hometown Glory which I liked is that it was quite slow and it had quite a long intro, but which we could also have from when the scene's changing, so it's changing from night to day. But the other thing about it which I really liked is that there was a kind of like a pause in between. There was about a pause in between when it was just crotchets and semi-quavers and quavers to and then there was a pause and then it changed to quavers and semi-quavers. So it got faster, really, which was really good because in that pause for us, there's a lot of moments like you can have her turning away or her getting dizzy or her gripping the railing, which is probably my favourite part. As she's walking downstairs, you could have her actually grip the railing as it pauses. So it's got the piano, pause, she like almost falls over, and then it carries on when she starts walking again. And that's really important because from one of the things that I found out about music, like it's in Fargo, it's in Les Revenants, it's in loads of other thriller films as well, is that the music tends to work with what's happening on the screen. So for that bit, that was going to be quite important. So in the intro to Hometown Glory is actually one that I didn't think would be that good, but I was just listening to my music the other day and I thought, actually, that's going to be really, really useful for our music. So the next song I'm going to be talking about is Intro by the XX, and again, that's quite an acoustic, quite minimalistic song. So you'll just hear from that now. style type of music, and the thing that I like about that, and I think it's quite good for a thriller film, is that it changes as it goes along, but very gradually, so it draws people in. So a lot of the things that happened in intro for the XX is that it was just a few notes, and then they were repeated quite a lot, and then as the bars changed and the chords changed, it went round a loop of 4. So like it went through the chord sequence, one different sequence for each bar, and then after one set of them, of the 4 bars, it would then kind of like develop. So then a long note came in, as you heard, and that really draws people in, which I really like, because it is quite a development and it keeps them, like, their tension going, but it's not like too shocking. So if you watch things like Inception, which is a brilliant film, but the one thing that I really dislike about it, and it's the same with other Christopher Nolan films like Interstellar, and I suppose the Batman films aren't actually like this, but with Interstellar and Inception, the music is very intense, and it keeps going at that intense level with loads of long notes and big synthesizer sounds, and for me that just is really overbearing and really, really off-putting, because there's not really any development. I mean, in Inception they used the same tune over and over again, and if it was a very faint tune, that's quite effective, but to have something so strong is actually quite overbearing, and I thought made it hard to concentrate on the film, and for something like Inception, you need to concentrate on it. So, intro is very good, because it is that minimalist structure, and it's just so good for getting your attention, because it just gradually changes and changes and changes, and also fades in and out, which is good for light and shade, because when you've got like a piece of drama and you've got some material, you're going to have parts where there's more action, and some parts where you maybe want it to be silent, and then you want it to kind of develop in that way. So the final one that I'm going to be talking about is the opening for Les Revenants, and that is probably one which I enjoy most talking about, because I just love the music for that. So we're just going to listen to that, and I'll talk about it afterwards. Right, so as you heard, it is a brilliant piece of music, but I did play you the actual opening for the first episode. So you heard someone walking and someone moving about, and then it goes into the music. Now the thing that I like about that, because that is the first thing that I like about it, is that because it's a very faint beat, and a very faint kind of tune, it's quite nice for it to cross over with the action that's happening. So you could have it with someone walking. Now, that for us is quite difficult, because we don't really want that. That doesn't really fit in with the storyboard, but it is something that I still really, really like. And if I can try and get that in and have like sound come in and out, then that will be really, really good. Because they do cross over, which is quite nice. But another thing that I really like about it is that it's quite contrapuntal, but then it goes into being parallel. So the situation we've got is quite dramatic, and that's the situation that they got there. But they've got something that sounds almost like a lullaby, which again really links into kind of like the character. She's a very young girl, so it's perfect for the first episode, and it really makes it creepy because again that contrapuntal feel of it being like very childlike and stuff is, and then like have such a horrific thing happen, which has just happened. It's kind of unsettling, and that's really good for a thriller. But then it brings in this minor note, and it changes this very basic major key into minor, because if you add in a few notes, technically in music, it will suddenly make a key just sound minor suddenly, and it will actually make it technically minor, but especially for the audience, it will make it sound minor. So that's something else that I think is really good. And that's really clever because it suddenly makes the music become parallel to the situation, which gives a nice like sinking feeling of realization that this girl has died and she has come back from the dead. So it's creepy at first and then realization, which I think is really good. The final thing that I really like about Les Revenants opening is the beat, because the beat comes in and then it's the last thing to go out. And not only is it quite a wooden beat, which links to the setting really well, because obviously it's quite an earthy place, and it's very thin sounding but very together as well if you hear it, with the violins and the cellos and everything about it. It's like quite minimalistic, it's not a proper full orchestra, but it works well together, so it's really well thought out, because if you get just added in another random instrument and you pick one, it would not work. So they would have had to like try out which instruments and how loud they were together loads and loads of times. But because it blends, you can have the layers come in and out, and when it just finishes with the beat, it really draws in the audience again, have that little like ticking sound, because it almost sounds like a ticking clock, which again is quite creepy, and it builds anticipation in the audience, which I really love. So those are the three things that I really like, the three songs that I really like, but the main things that I'm going to take away from all of them is the way it draws audience in, the way it can link with the action, and the way you can have light and shade, and you can have silence, and you can have noise, and also the instruments that I like piano, claves, maybe xylophone, and also having as little instruments as possible. So I'm looking to only have about 2 really in this one. But I could always add in more, but 2 is probably the one that I quite like, and that's probably something that I'd actually differ from the rest, apart from Hometown Glory. That is the one thing that Hometown Glory does offer, which is more for my for our thriller, is that we want 1 or 2 instruments rather than loads, or like 10. Like Les Revenants has about 7, I think, and Intro is loads of synthesizers and loads of effects, which are put together, so it is a few instruments, but there's quite a lot of little different sounds in Intro as well. So we wanted ours quite simplistic.